All right, everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil. And today I want to talk about managing guild events. How can you keep from getting overwhelmed? What's required of you in all these additional guild events? Because I think I actually got this idea from asking my alts guild, like, hey guys, what's something that could help you? And somebody said, like, explaining the effort that's required in these different events and how to keep from getting overwhelmed, how to keep from feeling like you're constantly doing something. So we're going to get in here, guys. Like and subscribe. Hopefully this helps you get through Galaxy of Heroes a bit more efficiently, give you more free time, because one of the biggest things about this game we always talk about is managing resources. But I feel the one resource that never gets talked about enough is time. Time is the most important resource, not only in Galaxy of Heroes, but in life in general, and maximizing it. So the less time that you have to spend doing some of these guild events, the better off we're going to be. So let's give a huge shout out to the channel members. Thank you guys again for continuing to put your faith in me. Hopefully the content I bring to you is not only good and enjoyable, but more importantly than anything, that it's helping you. That's exactly why I started this channel, was to help players, keep them from making mistakes that I made, or give them the best experience in Galaxy of Heroes. So thank you guys again. Let's get into the video, and let's start off with, the most important thing you can do for your guild is hit 600. Like, beyond anything else, hitting 600 should be just like bare minimum in my mind. 600 is like the bare minimum you can do for your guild every single day. 600 tickets is very easy. You get a lot of energy throughout the day. You can buy crystals. You can buy energy with additional crystals that you get for free every single day. It helps you progress your roster faster. It is one of the it's something I don't even think about it. I just go in it every day, boom, 600, done. Very, very important we hit 600 every single day. Then when you talk about your guild events, there's kind of the three biggest ones: territory battles, territory wars, and the raid. I have them in the order that I feel your individual participation is the most important. What I mean by that is, if I skip out on territory battles, it's going to have a huge impact compared to me skipping, like a huge impact to the rewards of the guild. If I skip out on territory wars, it's going to have a bigger impact than if I skip out on the raid to my guild, because your individual performance in these game modes kind of gets more and more, like, the less that you do, the more damaging it is to the guild. I'm going to show you guys why that is. So let's talk about the raid first. So the raid score impact, in my opinion, is probably one of the biggest things that, if you're feeling really overwhelmed, just like auto the raid. Just go in and auto the raid. Now, I'm not saying you do that every single time, right? Because you do need to score well. But let's go to my main account here. So my guild has scored 475 million points. We're not going to hit the box right here, and we're well above this one. We've got a, what is this? That's, 51 million score of a cushion. So when you scroll down to the bottom here, like, we still have this guy Jade who hasn't yet hit the raid. Like, if they don't do anything, they're not changing the rewards that the rest of the guild is getting. They're just impacting themselves. So their individual performance isn't impacting the guild. Take also into consideration myself here, where I scored 11 million points, which is a new personal best for me. Even if I scored half of that number, it's not impacting the amount of points that my guild is getting. So whenever I'm really rushed, if I don't feel like I have the time, like, the raid can be the last thing you do, because more likely than not, your individual performance, if you are and I'd kind of say within a standard deviation that you're an average player of your guild, your individual score is not going to greatly change or even change the guild's rewards at all, right? Now, with that said, if your guild is just shy of this mark, they're going to need you to give the full effort. There are certain times where your full effort is required, and then once you get to that point where the margins get larger, you can kind of start putting this on auto. Maybe it's not the most important thing, because there's other parts of the game that I think your individual performance is far more necessary in. Which then comes to territory war participation. Now, there's two kinds of, like, there's a couple ways to participate, like, territory war wise, because you have to join it. It's not like territory battles where, like, you're automatically in. You have to actually click that join button in territory wars, and then you've got defense and offense. So if I choose not to join territory wars at all, it's not really going to impact my guild in any big way. Now, caveat here being, if a lot of your guild chooses not to do this, it's absolutely going to impact the rewards. But me not joining and the rest of the 49 members of my guild join, It's not going to change the rewards that they get. Now, the win and loss could be a different situation, but like, I'm probably more of a hindrance than a help in Territory Wars because I don't have that many Omicrons. But here's kind of a good rule of thumb. If you can't set defense, if you're too busy to set defense, you're probably too busy to be attacking too. And the other side of this that I get a bit harsh on is when players are like, oh, I'm going to go all out on defense. Now, that's better than joining and doing nothing. But when you go all out on defense, in my mind, it can be a little bit selfish. Because it's way easier, way less time consuming to just throw your characters on defense. And quite frankly, what often happens is those guys are setting things on defense that are super easy to beat. You know, that they're going to set a Sith Eternal down. They're going to set Jedi Master Luke down. They're going to set, like, Geonosians without an Omicron and stuff. Like, they just start setting teams down to fill slots that don't really need to be filled by them, that other players could put better things down. And even when I've gone all out on defense, I'm still often saving a couple of teams for offense that I just feel are a waste on defense, right? That just, it's not worth setting that team defensively. It's just, again, one man's humble opinion, but the biggest thing I'd say, your rule of thumb with Territory Wars, if you're really busy, just don't join. It's okay. Like, you're going to hurt your guild if you join and do nothing than if you just don't join at all. Like, you'll cause more damage. And if you do join, set your defense, like bare minimum, make sure you set a defense and then go in and attack a few times. And if you get super busy, just let the guild know. And I'm going to pause here for a second and just say this. Communication with your guild is so important. You start a new job, you've got a lot going on with your family, you know, stuff is happening work-wise. Like, let them know. Because I think one of the biggest problems that happens with players is they go silent, they don't let the guild know, and then they get, you know, overwhelmed, they can't do things, they're getting tagged, and the officers are just like, this dude's not doing anything, like he's being lazy, not realizing that, you know, you're working 80 hours this week or something. So really important to communicate these things with your guild, and you will be so much better off in this game, I promise you. So now, territory battles, which in my opinion is the most important. This is because you are automatically enrolled in territory battles, right? Like, your guild, like, your rewards oftentimes, like, if I do nothing all of TB, I would almost guarantee that my guild could potentially lose a star. That there are certain parts of that I think there's some truth there, that I have some characters that they need for operations that potentially could cost us a star if I don't participate with territory battles. So there's 4 ways of territory battle participation. There's 4 things that I think encompass all of the participation with territory battles, and I'm going to walk you through the level of importance of them. So first, like, the bare minimum is deploying your galactic power. If I'm, like, beyond busy and I'm like, guys, like, I have no time to do anything, like, just deploy, that's 10 million points. If I do nothing, it's 10.5 million points my guild is completely missing out on. And I'm going to say this, that the bare minimum really is going in and doing your operations too, right? Like, you have your operations assignments. If you're bare minimum just going to deploy, go into territory battles right away, deploy the characters you're assigned, and go deploy your Galactic Legends and General Skywalker, Jedi Knight Luke's, like, deploy all the best characters in operations, and then deploy your roster. It will take you maybe 3 minutes of your time, and it will so much help your guild. It's a massive benefit if you do that. I promise you guys that a lot of officers and players, if you're really busy and you're like, hey guys, I can commit to going in, deploying, putting some things in operations, they will thank you for it. Don't feel like you have to go in and do every single combat mission if you're super busy. It's way more important to at least get your GP in there and get your operations and platoon assignments done, guys. I cannot stress that enough. I really, like, as an ex-officer, I can tell you all the time that if somebody was like, hey, Phil, I'm busy, I'm like, listen, deploy, do your operations, and move on with, like, do your operations, deploy, move on with your life, you know. I think that's best, and that's why we're going to move operations up here. I want you guys to see that. I think that is so incredibly important, and it's not asking a lot. It doesn't take long to do those things, and, you know, because otherwise, your guild gets 0, right? So there is action required here. All right, special missions. Now, this is a bit controversial, but I'm going to explain it like this. Think about, like, the Wat Tambor mission, Kaidi Mundi, Rolo, Imperial Probe Droid. You get 12 chances at that per year. That because light side and dark side TB rotates, you only get 12 of them a year. So if I'm really busy and I'm like, hey guys, like, I don't know if I can get all my combats done, and we still need Wat Tambor shards, probably time to prioritize those special missions, right? Hey, I'm gonna go do Wat Tambor because I know my guild really needs me to get that mission done. I know that my guild really wants me to get Watch Shards, get Riva, or do the special missions on Baraka, right, in Rise of the Empire. That those are the things that really catch eyes, that can really benefit your guild to do those things. Like it's really difficult to say, hey, like skip combat missions, but it's one of those where I feel most guilds would say, if you can do one thing, please do your special missions, help us earn additional rewards for everyone. That's where I would say is the next like most important part of TB, especially I'd say Rise of the Empire and Hoth. When you get to GOTB, your combat missions are extremely important, more so than some of the special missions in my mind, because of the amount of points you can earn in those combats. That like I think I could double my galactic power at one point. That like if I was deploying, 8 million points in GOTB or 7 million points in GOTB, I was scoring 7 million in combat missions. In Rise of the Empire and, the Hoth, I would say that your, deployments is way more important than combat missions. Now, some combat missions you can auto. Like if I have like Lord Vader and Jabba. In Rise of the Empire, I found that I can auto these missions. I can set them on auto and leave them go. Because remember, this is a mobile game. So treat it like a mobile game. If you have 5 minutes of your spare time, go into territory battles, do the Lord Vader battle on auto and move on, right? Oh, hey, you know what? I've got some time. I'm going to throw the Jabba battle on auto and just set my phone down when I'm in this meeting or something, right? Like, I think that sometimes we forget that you can piecemeal. Don't feel like you need to do all of these things all at once. Like to finish off kind of with combat missions, oftentimes the fleet combat missions are worth way more than ground missions. So if you can prioritize trying to get those done, you can earn a lot more points with the same amount of time, and that can really benefit your guild as well if you're trying to do things on a time crunch. Fleet missions are definitely the most important because you can get the most amount of points there, and they really don't take any longer than the ground missions in my mind. I'd actually say in some cases the fleet missions are shorter than ground operations. So with all of this said, right, if you're feeling overwhelmed, remember guys, it's a mobile game, and I wanted to kind of rehash this here for a second. Treat it like a mobile game. Like right when territory battles opens, right? So in 58 minutes at the time of recording here, or 48 minutes at the time of recording here, I will go in and I will set my operations down, right? Hey, Phil, you're going to come in here and you're going to assign your Commander Tano, and you're going to go assign your Malgus, and Boba Fett sign a Jango, and Maul. Like, I'll log in, I'll do those things, and then I'll exit out because, hey, I don't have time for my operations, right? I don't have time for combat missions right now, but I'll get those operations done. And then maybe I'll log in a little bit later, and, hey, you know what? I'm going to go do some combat missions here. Oh, I've got to go to dinner, so I'm going to pull it off, and then I'll, redo. Like, don't feel like you need to do this all at once. Break it up into sittings. Hey, you got to go to the bathroom for 10 minutes, go do a combat mission. Like, I promise you guys, when you will get burnout in this game if you try to do everything all at once. If you can't, this is a mobile game. You can play it at your free will. This isn't Call of Duty where you need to sit down for like 3 hours at a time to really play enough games. Like this, you can do 5-10 minutes at a time and make, chip away at whatever, things you have to do. And I promise it will feel a lot less stressful to you. So with all that said, guys, that's how I prioritize, organize, and keep myself from feeling overwhelmed by guild events. Remember, at the end of the day, I find the most important aspects to your guild events is territory battles, then territory wars, and then the raid. And that's simply because your lack of participation kind of exponentially causes damage to your guild as you move between those events. That, again, me not doing anything in the raid is really not going to impact my guild right now. If I don't join territory wars, really doesn't impact my guild. But if I join and I do nothing, then it does, but not quite as damaging, I feel, as doing nothing in territory battles, because territory battles, I think, has the slimmest margins for success. That oftentimes some guilds, it's coming down to needing a couple of million of galactic power to get that additional extra star. And it might not be the culmination of like, hey, I didn't deploy in phase 6, right? But it's the culmination of, hey, we missed out on 20 million GP this phase. We missed out on 30 million GP this phase. And then you're short in the final phase of territory battles. And the other thing I'll say here too is when you're doing Rise of the Empire and Hoth, it's far harder because it's a 24-hour phase. So that's why I say that, with those combat missions, it's a little bit less important because it is a constricted phase, and there's some times where it can be really difficult for players. Just communicate that with your guild. Geonosis, I don't have quite as much sympathy because it's a 36-hour phase. In my mind, there's plenty of time to get all that stuff done. But again, I'm not the sole voice of reason in this game, right? So let me know your thoughts down below, guys. Hopefully this helps you keep from getting overwhelmed. If you're still watching right now, Wampa is king in the comments. I love you all. May the force be with you. And if you're still watching and you're not subscribed, then freaking subscribe to this channel, please. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.